Hello and welcome to our final episode of Coldharbour Talks. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I'm so excited for this final one. I feel like every episode, I feel like I'm like sat with the greats. Like it's so awesome. But I'm sat here with David Bryan, who was the previous chair of Oval House and Brixton House, and our current chair, Levi Roots. I'm so excited to be sat with you both, just to like pick your brains, to get into the vision, to understand all of the things. But also, this is in connection with the Uprising Festival. So we're looking at 40 years since the 1985 uprisings. But first of all, I want to just know how you're doing this morning.
Good, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How you doing, Levi?
Yeah, I'm good. I always try to be good. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
easy at all times, but yeah, this morning especially, I'm really good this morning because I'm excited about this.
Yes, and look at we're all shining here with melanin. It's great. It's so great. David, so I want to jump off with you. We were just speaking, and you were saying that you were chair of Oval House and Brixton House over 8 to 9 years. Obviously, the building of the establishment was during lockdown. But I'm really interested to hear about what your vision was for Brixton House for the wider community and how that would impact them.
That journey was a long one because when I started, the drawings had already been set, established, and agreed upon. So I was working within the constraints of what was already imagined for the future. And you're trying to imagine something 8, 10 years ahead or 5 years at that time, but we didn't know there'd be COVID to knock us off the chart for 2 years. But the challenge for me was I came on board because it was an opportunity to build an institution. And I was very clear about that. So many of our organizations are just projects. They come into being for a couple of years, they get some funding, then they vanish. And it's not because of their talent and the ability, it's because we are not thinking long term enough. When I came here, I was thinking 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what kind of impact can we have across the country, not just Brixton, but across the country? Because I think for me, this is a unique establishment. There is not another like it in the country, in Europe. So as far as I was concerned, this was the beginning of something quite immense. Now, the problem about having an overly large vision is it can either frighten you or inspire you. We had both.
Yeah.
People were both amazed by the idea, but also just, no, it can't happen. That can't be real. And then the setback we have is that we left Oval House, where we've been there for decades. When we came to Brixton House, only 3 staff were still with us
Wow.
because we couldn't hold that paycheck for 25 staff during COVID and during the building phase.
Right.
So we then went from a team of people with an established platform and background into just 3 people. And we're trying to turn things over. So the finance person, the general manager, the artistic director, they're the 3 we kept.
Yeah.
Everybody else virtually had to go. And marketing we kept in the process. But the key thing here is that in order to build a new institution, we have to do things all over again. So we were building from scratch because we were bigger, we were more prominent. We were in the center of Brixton where people were looking at us and we're visible in that space. We're not a little kind of corner shack in the back street somewhere. We are big, prominent.
Front Street.
Front Street. I'm proud about it.
Yeah.
One of the challenges is that we were creating something that was of quality. So this is a place you can walk in and be proud of. Even if you don't come in as a punter to buy a ticket for a show, you sit there with coffee or tea or whatever it might be your drink. You're happy that we are here saying we've been here a long time in Brixton. This is a foothold that says we've been here a long time and we'll continue to be here for the future. That's what part of the vision.
Yeah, because there's so much that you said there that I'm like, ooh. But space is so important, especially with with areas that are becoming gentrified, and those original communities don't have that access to space. So to have a space that you can walk into and know that that is for you is so important.
It's so important, but that's a really good point. That's a really key point because this has been gentrified for a long time, as is Notting Hill Gate, as is many other places.
Yeah.
Hackney,
Yeah.
it's all being gentrified, and some of that is a good thing because it lifts the area up. Some of that is a bad thing because we are not part of that ongoing story, and we get priced out. But the challenge here is that we also have that tension. We were initially trying to own the whole building. We couldn't raise the money. We had lots of promises that didn't materialize. So we had to get into a deal in which we were partnering with the local authority. This is a local authority that's broke.
Yeah.
So you have a different conversation altogether. So our life here isn't easy. So people may presume that this lovely building looks fantastic and we have bucket loads of money. I won't go into the money story because that would be a whole different
It's a whole other podcast.
But all I'm going to say is that you're right. The importance of maintaining a presence in a gentrified location enables everybody who comes in to realize there's a history here that's still got some anchor, some presence. I think the challenge is that it pushes the price up. Everything becomes expensive. All properties become expensive. And if you own it, that's great for you. It's wonderful. My parents used to live in Brixton, and that was great. But they moved out, went back to Jamaica. If they'd hanged on 2 more years, I'd been a multi-millionaire. Happy as can be. But it means for venues that this space is one we have to hold on to quickly and build for the long term, because that kind of money doesn't come easy. And our turnover here is £2.5 million. We have to make that. We don't get a grant to cover it. And people outside might think that this is a charity, fully funded. We have to be a business. And that means that we have to therefore act and be very different. We have to generate $1 million plus every year. Hardly any business does that.
But I also love what you were saying earlier about the gravitas that you hoped for Brixton House nationally, and that really does reflect, the uprisings. It wasn't just people from Brixton who were a part of that. This was a national thing. So I love that vision and how it reflects the history of that. Also, you were awarded a CBE for your contribution to the arts, which is incredible. Congratulations. How does that feel?
It felt quite extraordinary because you don't know it's coming.
So what is it? Just like you just get a letter through the...
You get a letter saying that you're going to be awarded an honour. You have no idea what the honour is. So you have no idea if it's OBE, CBE or whatever. Clear that by that time they've done whatever vetting to make sure you are of sound quality and whatever else they do. And mine was for the arts. And yeah, it was really quite extraordinary when it was then announced I had a CBE, and my son said, "What's that?" I said, "I don't know." You could find out. And he came back and said, "Wow." So yes, it's not, but in many ways it's, and I'm not saying this to defer the gratification, but I work with lots of other people in order to make things happen. So I've been involved in the arts a long time. So I've been involved in the arts for over 50 years. I ran a bookshop in Brixton back in 1980s, and then formed a dance production. I formed, I've done film in Brixton. I've done a whole variety of different art forms where I produced a range of things when it wasn't the done thing. When it's thought we couldn't do anything. When it's thought there wasn't any value in it. And therefore held on to that we have a story to tell, we have imagination, and we have the ability to deliver. And I've done all those things and they've worked. And therefore, when people say you're in the arts, I've been in the arts both as a maker, producer, as well as somebody who has advised large institutions as a consultant for the Arts Council. So I've seen the terrain over a long period of time. And therefore, I work with some great people. Brixton House comes about because we have great people on the board and really good staff. because that combination helps you anchor both the idea and the delivery. But getting CB, I think, was really a proud moment for us as a community to say that we get recognised for our work.
I love that. And also, it comes like this building comes off of the back of all of the work that you've been doing. Like this is work, like you said, from the bookshop to to now a theatre space. Like that is really, really incredible. You touched on it a little bit earlier about where we're at economically and politically also. And I'm really interested to know what your thoughts are about art and how it sits within society when our governments are like continuously discrediting it with like funding cuts.
Yeah. I think we're in a tough place. I think we are in a tough place and have been in a tough place for the last 10 years. It's not new. And so we've seen an erosion. And I think the place we are at now is a tough place. Tough because I think that the business model of the old days have gone, completely mash up. In the old days, you thought you get a small grant and then maybe sell some tickets and get the difference funded by a charity, and you're happy, covered. Now the charities are saying our money has to go to the poor and to social causes. That money's gone. That money has dropped tremendously off the platter. Ticket sales, can work. But if we charge prices here at Brixton House that they do in the West End, we'll be burnt down. There's no way we can go down that road. We need that money. I'd love to be able to charge £50 a ticket and say, come, because it shows high quality and it deserves it. But we'd be in trouble. So we have to be realistic at the end of the day. I think that what I'm essentially saying is that the business model for the arts has changed and has changed radically because we're not keeping up and we're not getting the investment we need. And therein lies the real problem because the arts have been taken for granted.
Yeah, most definitely.
There's an assumption that, you'll work for free. Or for next to nothing because you love what you're doing and therefore why should we worry ourselves? If you're any good, you go commercial. That's the kind of government mindset that surrounds this. It doesn't really think about people who work in the arts out of passion, out of love and make community dance projects happen where that young talent can therefore progress. An award was recently given to a young boy in the TV drama Adolescence. He practiced in a community centre like this in the north. Now, if we weren't there, he wouldn't be getting that award. And that connection, I think, is really important. So I think we have a real problem that there's a lack of government vision and imagination. There's a lack of placemaking where we have these anchors in different locations where they can make communities feel proud of who they are, have their stories told. Because it's not only about the kind of copying the American agenda of TV drama. We've got our own stories, and they're rich and they're varied, and everybody wants a different story. So we've got people out there reading our books, listening to our music, and watching our stories develop. We need to be part of that process whereby we're saying, let's make this more authentic. Let's make this more substantial. So I think there is a difficulty in terms of the government's perspective. It may change with the new government. It's still early days yet. But the real difficulty we have is our organisations have to adapt differently. We have to resign ourselves to be much more entrepreneurial and business-like, like it or not. Because if people want to get paid good salaries, and they should do, pay their bills, and if we want to therefore have a long-term vision, we can't be saying, I'll suffer for 5-10 years and hope that down the line success comes. We've got to be doing better than that. And that means therefore a different set of attitudes towards business and the arts.
Thank you so much, David. There's so much, so much. Levi,
Lord of mercy.
as you're like passing the baton on, what are your hopes and vision for Brixton House moving forward?
Well, I'd like to think that my hopes and vision is to continue on where David is left us. 'Cause I think he's done a fantastic job.
And thank you.
No, not at all. I think my first sort of job, I think, is to keep that team that's already been there, which David has left, because it's an absolutely brilliant team, and it makes it easier for me to step in, and do what I've got to do as chair. But I think the vision is one of just trying to continue that focus, that vision of going forward with Brixton House.
Wow, lovely, lovely. And like you have, obviously you have like, we have like the hot pepper sauce, we have like everything, but you have like such a rich background in like sound system culture, specifically Sir Coxsone International. I actually played Cox and Dodd in in Get Up Stand Up, which is insane. But I'm really interested in like the vibration of sound system culture, especially in Brixton's history, and the rebellion and resistance of it. How might that rebellion and resistance inspire how you choose to lead?
Well, sound system has always been the voice of the disenfranchised. It's been the voice of, people who felt that they were outside of that circle of development.
Yeah.
And I think, just like back in Jamaica in the days, where it started from, it was like a preacher. The man on the mic was really the voice of the people. And I like to think that back in those days when it was Coxsone versus just Shaka and Saxon and all these great sound systems, it was telling the stories of the local community.
Right.
And I think that each person in Brixton was on the mic.
Yeah.
Because when you came to the dance and you go home and you heard what the DJ guy was saying, it was about your life.
Yeah.
I think within times of even of when the uprising came and that, it was the DJs that was going around and talking about what was happening in the community and how that really sort of spans out to the wider community abroad through the music. And those voices was actually going on record. Because you had people like Smiley Culture and all those other local people. You had Tipper Hyrie and Papa Levi, and dare I say, even though my own self, would be just making that sound about what happened, when the Brixton riot came around, it was a voices for that. And I think that's still important right now, because without the local people talking about their lives in the community, it doesn't hear abroad. You don't really get that kind of news for what you hear in the dance hall and what you hear local people talking about. So it was always really important that we had that voice, that we had that soapbox for each sound system to be that soapbox to tell what was happening in the community.
I love that. I really, really love that. Obviously, it's as you mentioned before, this is the Uprising Festival, which marks 40 years since the 1985 uprisings. What are your personal memories of that time, and how do they resonate with where Brixton is right now?
Well, my memories back then was that if you had a house in Brixton in those days, in the times of the no-go areas, and you wanted to give it away, nobody would take it off you. It was really an area that it was just the people that lived here that saw passion in what was happening in Brixton. Because if you came from without, you wouldn't see passion here. But I think the people had to draw together, even from the times of the Windrush generation that came in. They had to live their life within that bubble. And it was a beautiful life. For us, it was a beautiful. There are beautiful memories of what was happening, even when the front line was a place where, now Brixton has become a nice, beautiful place where you can come and, have a great job and live your life and bring up your family.
And have a saltfish fritter.
But I still think that within that time there was a lot of joy in the local area. I never saw it as a negative, in those times when no one would come into the area to spend money or to invest in the local Brixton, because the people invested in themselves. And even though it's been gentrified now, but I still feel remnants of those days of what it was. And I still have great memories of living here within Brixton and having the community being at one. Because community stories are different from any others. And Brixton has its own story. And I still think that's one that a lot of people copy that story of how to be together, even in separation.
Yeah.
People are still smiling. Because when you came to Brixton Indoors, it was always a place that people loved to come. Even though it had that, thing about it's a no-go here and it's all that. People still love to come to Brixton. So it was that community joy that I think people still love to see when they came to our local areas.
How about you, David?
Well, we grew up in Brixton and went to the local schools, EFRA, before they closed it down, turned into a family centre. And when the riots broke out, I was running a bookshop in Coldharbour Lane, on the corner of Coldharbour Lane. So we watched the whole dynamic of the police coming down in large numbers and the crowd building up. Just around the corner from here was now a kind of, I think it's a fish and chip shop in the corner. Used to be our bookshop, and we were there for years.
Wow.
So in terms of what Levi just said, I completely agree. We made our life here. We made our life here because only because we had to, because we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the kind of discovery each other's backgrounds from whatever islands we came from. We enjoyed the sense in which we were making the space to engage with each other and share. We could play steel pan, reggae, and Afro, and the latest Apron tunes, and in the same kind of street within the household. So it was a really vibrant time in many ways. And that vibrancy, I think, is key because it gets forgotten about. It gets characterized as only being about hardship. It's key because it's not only about one island. It's about a collection of people with a shared history.
Yeah.
It's key because we were learning from each other when the schools didn't even have us on the curriculum. And that was really key because we had to find our own pathway to understanding the journeys of what brought us here and therefore decide where we're going to go next. But I think Brixton was still a symbol of us coming together to defend our integrity, to defend our voice, and defend a way of life that we had built. Because gentrification works because we've built something that people want to be part of. It's not just the housing, it's a sense in which this is a place where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I'd like to just touch on that bit that David just mentioned because I do think the uprising and the riots was like a phoenix from the flames of the riots because the reason for the riot was because we wanted change. I was part of that, even though David said that he was watching it from afar, but I was actually in it. And that's because we wanted change. We wanted change, and we uprised, and we wanted our voices to be heard. And it was because of that, I think, why we are where we are now, where it says Brixton has become a place where people come because they want to be a part of this amazing community. But to get to where we are, that was the reasons why we raised up, because we wanted change, and change did come eventually. It's a shame that we don't all share in it, have that change, and you mentioned that a bit earlier on. But that change was because of that uprising of Brixton back in the 80s and 90s.
And it was tough. I mean, I was a fully observer at times. But I remember certainly being down on Relton Road in that youth club that was down there.
Yes.
Shepherds, that's the one. A couple of days after the riots, and we're organising a public meeting. I know, and people were very full of anger and pain about what happened. Both in the lead up to it. But the challenge we had was, what next? And I was very struck trying to organize a conversation with 300 people with steam coming out of their ears, with anger and everything else, about, and what happens next when things are calm? Besides the increased numbers of people being arrested by the police, besides the harassment continuing in one form or the other, besides the continued sus laws which were prevalent then, what do we hope to do next? How do we learn from this? And that was tough. But what I learned from that was that we had to be thinking more than just that flashpoint moment. We've got to go beyond that and build something for the long term that we can be proud of, that we can therefore build a sense of progress.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are trying to build here, progress.
Yeah.
The benefit of this place is it's not for one day, it is for generations.
Yeah.
We want the kids who are 10 to come through the door and do activities, and they're still coming through the door in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to build.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the one thing that I, as a Hackney boy transplant in Brixton, when I moved here, I used to go on these runs, and I could feel like vibrationally something happened here. A lot, the vibration was like deep. I was like, oh, like there's a lot of joy here, there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of rebellion, there's a lot of like standing up, like uprising that I feel here. And to be able to now step into an establishment where I can explore those things that I'm feeling, or those things that are reflective of the history that are happening now in my own life, and be able to explore like my activism through art is what is so special about Brixton House. And it's something that I really want the wider communities to know, that this place is somewhere that you can stand on your soapbox and scream your anguish, your pain, your love, your joy, all of these things. It's so brilliant. I love it. I wonder how that vibration for you has like impacted your walk in any space, not let alone Brixton House. I wonder how that history walks with you when you walk into spaces.
If I jump in there first, I think when you've been part of that journey, you build a sense of confidence, you build a sense of principle, and you build a sense of value. I'm not trying to be somebody else. I'm not trying to elevate other people's voices. I'm trying to create opportunities for our neglected communities to have their say, have their place. Not because it's a token effort, because we are worth it. We've earned it, because we have something to say. It's important. So how it affects me is that I bring that in wherever I am. I bring that clarity, I bring that confidence, I bring that determination that I'm helping others behind me, because we've got to build that pathway so that others can begin to progress. The challenge with that is that we've got to find ways in which we get past the pain. We can manage the pain. Because if we are immersed in that pain only, we can't think strategically, we can't think inventively, we can't think beyond a reproduction of that pain over and over again. And it's like we're creating a kind of psychology chair in which the thing is to repeat the pain over and over, and you kind of think, well, how do you get past this? And what do we therefore create next? For me, it was vital that we have a place where we can explore the pain, the transition, and the future, so that we can say to our next generation, here's the baton, and build on that, because we've opened doors, we've created a space. Black Power Desk as a production, we've been cultivating this idea for 5 years. It was on the table before we even built the building,
Right.
as an idea that we want to invest in. We didn't even have the money to invest in it. We kept saying, we love this idea, let's find a way. And we are here now, we found a way.
Wow. It's all about vision, isn't it?
It's about vision.
It's about vision. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think that David is right. I think there's always that sense of always trying to undermine our history. I mean, sometimes by our own selves, because of what the outside world had seen, because we already said that we have a beautiful story to be told. But I think there's a little bit sense of trying to undermine that by our own selves. But I always say we shouldn't undermine that. I think we should relish our story. And I think this is where Brixton House comes into it, for us to tell that story. Because there's no one else can tell that story. There's no more bigger inspiration of how do you rise above all the stuff that's happened to us here in Brixton. I cannot think of any more poignant story. There is others, yes, but not any more poignant than what we've suffered here in Brixton. And how we've managed to overcome that, to be in a place now where everybody wants to come. Everyone wants to hear that story that we have to be told, because it resonates with them. And even if it doesn't resonate with them, they can use that in case it does happen to them. They can see how we've done that. So I think this space that we've got here at Brixton House is a great place for us to keep telling that story. Yes, it's a hard story, but that's life itself. You know, and we could never sit in a bubble thinking that this can never happen again. And I don't think other communities can feel that this could never happen again. But I think the key thing is that how do we learn from that? How do we move on from that? What stories do we tell? And I think this is the responsibility of Brixton House, is to keep telling these hard-hitting stories like Black Power Desk, because it is a hard-hitting story.
Yeah, very.
Because it's truth story. People don't like to hear truth. But I think that's what Brixton House has to be about. It's not about telling the soft stories that doesn't impact people's lives, that doesn't really change anything. And I think for me, hard-hitting stories like these, this is what I want to see in the future for Brixton House, to be telling so it can impact other lives.
Yeah, and so I mentioned before when I went to the Lambeth archives, and we were like going through like posters and stuff and and then I was like, I found this poster with the Black Women's Theatre Group, and my family member Patricia St. Hilaire, her name was on the poster, and I was like, rah, like it feels like I'm walking in her footsteps. I like to think of Coldharbour Talks as like an archive, and that in 50 years' time, or however many years' time, somebody's going to look back at this and hear the leaders of this amazing building. I wonder if you had anything to say to that future leader or that person who is going to hold that baton moving forward. What would you advise them? What would you encourage them with?
Wow. Before I answer that question, your family member was key. I remember her.
You do?
I do remember her really well. But she's a great example of being a pioneer ahead of her time. I mean, a Black women's theatre company was an extraordinary concept at the time that was groundbreaking in of itself. And I think therefore we've got to learn from that we can do these things. So, and I grew up with Olive Morris. I was in the same squad with Olive for years growing up.
Wow.
So I understand, and she had determination, she had commitment, and she was in of itself a voice for the community. So what I'm saying by that is that we have an obligation to pass on to the next generation a determination to be bold, an obligation to say to them, this can be done. And this is a complex enterprise. We can make it happen. And we can come together. We don't all have to be brilliant. As Levi said, we just have to bring the right group of people together to make it happen. The right kind of people on the board. We've got a great board here. And so I was saying to that next generation, find your people. Find a vision that is inspiring. Find the determination and energy to make it happen. But transcend the boundaries that are put on you so that you can become your best self going forward.
Well, thank you so much. I'm taking that advice. Thank you so much. And seeing you, Levi?
Yeah, I again, coming back to Brixton House here, I think one of the things that's really hit me hard when I came in as chair, and that's really resonated with me, was about where this building is. And I think for those who are from Brixton, who we call Brixtonian, will know how important this building is, because it's built right in a space where that famous apocalypse painting was on the wall, where it was like telling a story of what Brixton was like. As I call it, the phoenix from the flame. What happens after the bomb has been dropped? How the life spans out.
Yeah.
And I do think it's for the people of Brixton. One of my key jobs that I have to do, I think, is to make people understand that this is a place for them. It's not about these new people that's coming to Brixton. Yes, it's great, but I think it's really important that the people of Brixton see this place as theirs. I think young people is another thing which is a big job for us to do, for young people to see that this is their space. This is a Brixton space. It's not about anything else but that. And because it's in this area, it's built on this ground where I think it was a car park for many years, and people just didn't think that anything could happen on this space. But for this building to rise up from there, I think it sends a statement to local Brixton, even for those who have moved out in the past. I think it's a home for them to actually come back to. It's a space for wherever you are as a Brixtonian, wherever you would cast your net, after the whole changes has been made. If you are to come back, Brixton House is a place for you, and I think it really resonates with me, and that's the reason why I wanted to come back here, because of this space.
Yay. Thank you so much. And like, lastly, I'd love to know what you're excited about. What are you excited about? What are you hopeful for?
Hopeful for. I think firstly, I'm always hopeful. We can't live without hope. And in these particularly hostile times, we need a great degree of hope to battle through what may come. Because we're seeing, I think, a climate change in which we are seeing attitudes and ideas that we thought we had killed off re-emerge. And the rise of reform and all that is, I think, very dangerous and negative prospects. I won't even go into Trump, because we'll be here all night. But what that rise of the right begins to symbolize is that we have to be unrelenting in our determination to build alliances and put people straight about history and about our contribution. So that it's not about race that keeps being used every time that they want to make a change in society, but we're about our valuable contribution to the world at large. That's what I'm hoping for. What we need to do in terms of going forward, I'm hopeful that Brixton House will achieve what I'd hoped for. I mean, with Levi and the team, I'm really pleased to be passing the baton on to Levi. I mean, it's such a joy that it was hard getting Brixton House to where we are. I can't underscore how tough that was.
Yeah.
So to see that we've now got what begins to look like the shoots of success is incredible. Because we've been here 3 years and we've had some successful shows and it's been brilliant, but to begin to say this is what we are striving to achieve on the horizon year on year, now that is what I think is a great thing to be proud of and pass on. And so for me, it's that sense of hope, that inner clarity that we have a right to be here and a right to have our voices told in the best possible way.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hopeful for me, yes, I'm hopeful for a lot of things, but I think the right term for me is grateful. Because this amazing place of Brixton is giving me personally everything, and I can't be thankful and grateful enough for what I've got. I've used my community and in my growing up in this area to become the person who I am. And I think if there is a message that I want to give to young people in Brixton, is be proud of who you are, because it is possible. It is possible for you to reach the unreachable, as I have. Most of my friends that knew me when I was running around Brixton, doing all kind of different things, and crying out for change like a lot of us would have never envisaged of me being in the position where I am. Now, coming back as chairman here, my job now is to encourage other people that it is possible for you to do that. And if there is a space for you to come to be able to feel even closer to get to that, Brixton House is the place, because I am here. And if there's anybody that wants to reach out to speak to me about how you can, to motivate yourself to get to the next stage, then I'll be so happy to have a conversation with them. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Thank you so much. This has been such an encouraging conversation for me personally. I feel like I'm like with my uncles. It's so yeah from Hackney. Well, no, because my dad's side of the family are from South, so it's fine. I was around. It's fine. But I hope the viewers really take what you've said and really feel like they can walk into spaces with their chest held high, with the complexities of who they are and where they're from, and know that they deserve to be in those spaces and they deserve to be here at Brixton House. But yeah, thank you so much. This is the final episode of Coldharbour Talks. Rewatch it. There's so many things to learn and to understand and to pick apart. I feel like in generations to come, this podcast will mean different things each time. I've been Danny Bailey, and this is Coldharbour Talks.